Hello everyone, my name is Chris and today's video covers what I believe are the top 5 worst vaults in the Fallout franchise. This list will only be covering vaults that are considered canon, and vaults from sources such as the Fallout Bible will not be included. As always, there are timestamps in the description if you wish to skip to a particular vault, but without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 5. Vault 112. Vault 112 appeared in Fallout 3 and one of the last vaults to be built. The purpose of the vault was to allow the residents to live in a perfect utopia within virtual reality, potentially forever. The vault was planned to house 85 occupants, but upon discovering the vault we only find 10 situated within Tranquility Lounges. The vault's overseer and creator of the GECK, Dr. Stanislaus Braun, may have originally intended for the vault's experiment to be simply a utopia for all the vault residents, however either due to madness or his sadistic streak he ended up changing the parameters. Braun created multiple virtual worlds in which to live in, with the longest running being Tranquility Lane, a pre-war American suburban neighbourhood which reminded him of his hometown. Within the simulation, Braun had direct control over everyone and everything, essentially making him the god of that world. It is unknown if Braun had always been insane or whether that progressed upon entering his virtual world, but the purpose of the vault eventually mutated into Braun using the world and its inhabitants to do whatever he wished. Braun, to satisfy his sadistic streak and inflated ego, would kill the residents, resurrect, mind wipe and re-kill them again over and over for centuries. The only inhabitant of the world that is aware of the simulation and who Braun really is Old Lady Divers. Due to a malfunction of her lounger, the hardware and code that keeps the residents within an oblivious state does not work on her, and she is constantly suffering from anxiety.
The dream became a nightmare. It has to end. It just has to. But we're not in charge. He is. And he doesn't want us to wake up. He calls himself Betty now, but he's still the same. He can put on a new face all he likes, but underneath he's still evil. Braun. Bastard thinks because he helped create this place he's God here. But I know he still uses the fail-safe terminal. I know it.
She is full of worry and remembers what Braun does to her, leading to mental trauma of her own death in the virtual world. Although an awful and sadistic scenario, I believe this is ranked as the lowest due to the fact that most bar one of the residents have no idea what is being done to them. This is due to Braun consistently mind wiping them, making them unaware of any physical or mental anguish they sustained before being killed. Had the residents always known what is going to happen but cannot show it, then it would be placed higher up on the list, however it is this ignorance that makes it the lowest on the list. Number 4. Vault 95. Vault 95 appeared in Fallout 4 and was created to house people suffering from chem addiction, and was created not only as a shelter but also a rehabilitation facility. The Vault's experiment was to document the response of the residents once they found a hidden stash of chems that was revealed intentionally after all the residents got clean. The program for rehabilitation lasted up for 5 years, upon which a secret Vault-Tec agent amongst the residents opened up a large supply of chems hidden within the vault. After the discovery, the residents all succumbed almost immediately to their urges, with almost all of them using the chems, causing their deaths, while others used them to cope with the newly enacted violence and chaos of the vault. The first part of Vault-Tec's hypothesis was considered proven in that when a person has no other alternative, recovery from chem addiction is always possible. Upon discovering the vault, the player can still find the skeletons of the vault residents clutching chems or having them nearby. I believe the experiment is considered incredibly cruel, having allowed the residents to both kick their habits and develop family-type bonds with their fellow residents, and for them to think that they're finally safe and comfortable only to introduce the very thing that ruined their lives in the first place. The results of the experiment went as badly as you could imagine, with people's relationships deteriorating, and with the prospects of not being allowed to leave the vault due to the high radiation levels, those that didn't initially take the chems eventually gave in. Number 3. Vault 75. Vault 75 appeared in Fallout 4 and was created for the purpose of refining human genetics using a combination of selective breeding, genetic modification and hormonal treatments. The vault was advertised as a safe space for children, as the vault was built into the Malden Middle School. When the bombs eventually fell in 2077, every designated family with a student attending the school along with the teachers made it to the vault in time. Upon entering, the children were separated from their families and escorted to the atrium, while the adults were executed by security staff. Once separated, the children were taught about Uptopland, the nickname for the newly created wasteland. They were told that they would be trained to be strong enough to venture out into the waste and help the suffering people above upon graduation. In truth, those who were intelligent and physically exceptional were harvested for their good genes when they turned 18, after being convinced they need to take a vaccine. Those that displayed high intelligence scores but low physical scores could be offered the choice to join the research team or be killed. Stations existed to measure and improve items such as aerobic and cardiovascular health. Activities were run to increase the heart rate of test subjects well above safe levels until symptoms such as cardiac arrest were present. Subjects were also trained in weapon use, with a firing range being built as more of a selling point for the idea that the graduates were going to leave the vault. The experiment lasted many generations, with human embryos experimented on and cultivated to create a new generation of children to further train and harvest. This experiment was one of the more horrifying ones, combining eugenics, child soldiers, and physical and psychological torment, with ruthless physical training and forced obedience, with those not meeting standards simply being discarded. Vault 75 used its population as mere test subjects, with the only way of surviving being inducted into the research team upon graduation. Number 2. Vault 11. Vault 11 appeared in Fallout New Vegas and had one of the most psychologically cruel experiments out of all of the vaults. Upon the vault being sealed, the vault's mainframe informed them that the population had to sacrifice a member each year for the greater good of the vault, or they would all be killed. What made this experiment worse was that had they refused to sacrifice someone, the mainframe would congratulate them for their commitment to human life, and that is a shining example to them all. Only the first overseer was aware of the vault experiment, but even they did not know what would happen if they refused to sacrifice someone. Out of hate and a feeling of betrayal, the residents voted for the first overseer to be the first sacrifice. After the first overseer was killed, the method of selecting a new resident to be sacrificed and selecting a new overseer combined into one. This meant that whoever being voted to be sacrificed would also become the new overseer of the vault. Upon the end of their term, they would enter the sacrificial chamber to be killed. As time went on, several political powers known as voting blocks emerged to try and manipulate and influence the nomination of overseer based on their own goals and to keep themselves safe from nomination. The final overseer, Catherine Stone, was sexually coerced by the leaders of the most powerful group, the Justice Bloc, as they threatened to have her husband nominated as next overseer, and due to the immense power and influence they had, it would have been a death sentence. Catherine was subjected to gang rape over the course of a month before having her husband nominated anyway. Catherine then went on a killing spree, murdering members of the Justice Bloc, and was nominated as the new overseer. Catherine's first act as overseer was to enact Overseer Order 745, which dissolved the voting system. The selection of a new overseer would now be chosen at random using the Vault Computer's random number generator. The process of sacrificing lasted only until 5 dwellers were left, and upon which they finally decided to refuse to sacrifice anyone else.
Alright, I know you can hear me, so listen up. There's 5 of us left. 5 out of I don't know how many. So, it's over. We've talked and it's over. We're not gonna send anybody to die anymore. So shut off our water, our gases, or do whatever it is you're programmed to do. But we're done listening to you.
They then discovered to their horror the truth of refusing to sacrifice a dweller, being congratulated and having the vault door being unlocked.
Congratulations, citizens of Vault 11. You have made the decision not to sacrifice one of your own. You can walk with your head held high, knowing that your commitment to human life is a shining example to us all. And to make that feeling of pride even sweeter, I have some exciting news. Despite what you were led to believe, the population of Vault 11 is not going to be exterminated for its disobedience. Instead, the mechanism to open the main vault door has now been enabled, and you can come and go at your leisure. But not so fast. Be sure to check with your overseer to find out if it's safe to leave. Here at Vault-Tec, your safety is our #1 priority.
In response, 4 out of the 5 dwellers committed suicide, with only 1 leaving the vault. What happened to that individual is unknown. This vault symbolises corruption, fear, power struggles, and shows how people can commit atrocities based on fear alone from an authority figure. I believe this vault is number 2 because although the experiment was horrific, there was an end to it, and had the residents decided not to go through with the choices early on, the vault would have been a normal place to live. Before we reveal the top spot, I just wanted to let you know that these videos take a while to make, and if you enjoy my content, please hit the subscribe button as it truly does help. The top spot at number 1 is Vault 87. Vault 87 appeared in Fallout 3 and was used solely for the purpose of testing the Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV, on unwilling subjects. The Vault's original social experiment was scrapped in favour of FEV experimentation, and so the Vault was essentially just a large scientific lab. The Vault was originally researching how to create improved soldiers for the war, and initial testing resulted in the males improving in upper body strength and both male and females receiving a thicker and more resilient skin after 10 days. 14 days after initial exposure to the virus, and subjects experienced increased levels of anxiety and rage caused by mental changes as well as painful and drastic mutations and physical changes. The vault then became the birthplace of the super mutants on the East Coast and is the sole reason for their presence within the Capital Wasteland. I believe this vault is the worst vault experiment out of all of them due to the dwellers being used as test subjects and only having two fates, either becoming super mutants or being executed or killed due to the failure or mutations. Along with birthing one of the main threats of the Capital Wasteland, this vault ultimately failed in its directive, with there being no hope for survival if chosen as a resident for the vault. And here we have what I consider to be the top 5 worst vault experiments in the Fallout franchise. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my picks and if you would choose different experiments. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, thank you for watching.